Hey, tonight we begin with something heavy, a journey into the grit and weariness of the Western Front. We're going to a time of mud, waiting, and the constant shadow of war. Tonight, you are a Tommy in the trenches, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The year is 1916. You blink awake, or rather, you become aware that you're no longer fully asleep. It's a subtle shift, a gradual return to the reality of the trench, a place where true rest feels like a story you once heard and barely believed. Dawn hasn't quite broken. There's only the dim purple smear of sky, low and brooding above you, and the sharp scent of wet earth and stale sweat that's soaked into your clothes, your skin, your bones. You shift slowly, every muscle aching. You're wrapped in your greatcoat, but the cold cuts through it anyway. Your boots are caked in thick, greasy mud, and you're half lying on a thin bed of damp straw over wooden slats. Around you, the trench wall leans in. Timber planks creak in the weight of the night's rainfall. Sandbags droop with moisture, their contents leaking like wet flour. A rat scurries past your leg. You don't even flinch. To your left, Davies stirs, young Davies, with the hollow cheeks and eyes that used to smile. He coughs again, that same wet bark that's been lingering in his lungs for days now. You hand him a tin mug with the last of the lukewarm tea. He nods in thanks without speaking. You both know words are in short supply here. The day begins not with sunlight, but with the sergeant's low bark. Stand to, the old ritual. Everyone up and alert before first light, eyes on the parapet, rifles checked. No one knows if the enemy will choose this dawn to make their move. So you stand, boots sinking, hands shaking from cold and nerves, eyes fixed on a horizon of barbed wire and no man's land mist. The world stays still. No whistles, no fire, not today. A silent morning. Maybe Fritz is as tired as you are. Breakfast comes. A dry biscuit, hard enough to chip a tooth, and a smear of something the tin claims is meat. You sit on a crate, chewing slowly. Nobody talks. You listen instead, to the squelch of boots, the clink of enamel mugs, the wind moving through torn canvas. This is how the days pass. Routine, silence, waiting. You find your place again, pulling out a battered photograph from your inner pocket. Her eyes smile back at you. Even though the paper's creased from 100 foldings, there's a baby in her arms bundled in a blanket. You try to remember the child's name. You think it's Thomas, or maybe Alfred. You whisper both under your breath, just in case. They're out there somewhere. Her and the baby. The fields back home. The church bells on Sunday morning. You picture the smoke curling from the chimney of your old cottage. You imagine the smell of bread. You blink, and the trench returns. Rain begins mid-morning, first as mist, then as a steady drizzle, then as a downpour that turns everything slick and gray. The mud is everywhere now. On your hands, your collar, your teeth. The dugout leaks again. You try bailing it out with your mess tin, but it fills faster than you can empty it. So you give up, sit down, and let it pool around your ankles. Afternoon brings a lull. No orders, no duties, just the long stretch of nothing that fills the hours. Wilson, always the loud one, starts humming a tune. Pack up your troubles. Off-key but persistent. Someone throws a clump of mud at him. He laughs. Then Jenkins joins in, and for a moment there's a chorus of tired, ragged voices, all clinging to the same rhythm. You scribble a few lines in your letter home. Still alive. It says, "Miss you." You add, "Hope you're keeping warm." Then you stop. What else is there to say? You tear the corner of the paper and tuck it into your boot, just in case the letter doesn't make it, but you don't either. Evening approaches, and with it, the orders. Night patrol. You're picked. So is Davies. The sergeant gives the usual speech. Keep low, no noise, eyes peeled. You nod, sling your rifle, check the dull edge of your bayonet. As dusk deepens, the cumulé, or drains from the world. You step over the parapet and into no man's land, boots sinking into muck. Each step is a whisper. The silence is enormous. The only sound is your breath and the steady, barely there rhythm of Davies behind you. You creep forward, past coils of rusted barbed wire, past the shattered remains of a cart. Something once wooden now reduced to splinters and ghost shapes. The moon slips behind a cloud. Everything disappears. Then, movement, a flicker of light ahead. You drop, flattening into the mud. Your heart kicks in your chest like it's trying to flee. You wait. 1 breath. 2. 3. Nothing. Maybe it was a flare. Maybe not. The sergeant's signals fall back. You crawl backward, slow and silent, heart still pounding, until the trench wall swallows you again. Back in safety, you sit with Davies. He doesn't speak, just takes off his helmet and closes his eyes. You realize your hands are shaking. You ball them into fists. Eventually, someone passes a bottle. You sip. It burns going down. For a while it keeps the cold away. Night deepens. Rain starts again. You're on watch now. Midnight. The trench is silent, except for the drips from the duckboards and the occasional shuffle of movement from men dreaming fitfully, or not at all. You keep your eyes on the dark, on that narrow slice of world just over the parapet. Your mind drifts. Back to home, to wheat fields and the clatter of horse carts, to your mum's voice, calling you in for supper, to your father's hands, scarred from work, steady on your shoulder the day you left for the train. "Be brave," he said, "but don't be stupid." You hear that every day now. A flare goes up, ghostly white across the sky. You freeze. It fades. Still nothing. Eventually, the relief comes. You climb down from the fire step, peel off your coat and try to sleep. But your body won't forget. The mud, the fear, the silence, they keep you half awake. Morning comes gray again, always gray. The corporal mutters something about a parcel. It's for you. You open it with numb fingers, socks, a tin of jam, a note from your sister in looping handwriting. Mum made the jam herself. She's doing better now. You eat it with your fingers. It tastes like before. For a moment, you're not here. You're at the kitchen table, licking the spoon, your sister elbowing you for the last bite. Then Davy starts coughing again, and you're back. Later, the sergeant tells you, Jenkins is gone. Night patrol. Didn't come back. You think of his voice singing yesterday, off-key and cheerful. You picture the mud swallowing him whole. You picture his boots, still lying in the corner of the dugout. At dusk, it snows, soft at first, then heavy. Thick flakes falling onto the duckboards, melting on contact with skin. You hold out your hand and catch one. It lingers, cold, pure. For a moment the trench is quiet in a new way. The white seems to mute the sounds, soften the lines of destruction. Davies is writing a letter. You glance over. "I miss Sunday roast," he writes. "I dream about Yorkshire pudding." You laugh quietly. You remember your mother's gravy. You haven't tasted anything like it since. In the dugout, someone starts playing a harmonica. It's out of tune. It's beautiful anyway. You lean back against the wall and let it wash over you. The cold, the mud, the war. It all fades for a few minutes. Then it happens. A shriek. High, metallic, and the world explodes. A shell hits 2 sections down the line. The trench lurches, wood and dirt flying. The blast wave hammers your chest. Your ears ring. Screams, shouts, scrambling bodies. You crawl forward, instincts guiding you. The air is thick with dust, with the iron stink of blood and something burning. You find Davies first. He's on his side, dazed, a cut bleeding down one cheek. "Get up," you shout. "Come on." He nods, staggered, clinging to your sleeve. Further down, it's worse. The wall has collapsed, burying part of the fire step. You dig, hands numb. Wilson is there. What's left of him. You freeze. Someone pulls you back. "Shelling's not done," the sergeant yells. "Get down." You drop, heart hammering, breath tight in your chest. Another shell hits. Closer. When the world stills, it's quieter than before. The air tastes like chalk. You sit there, next to Davies, neither of you speaking. Eventually, you help recover the bodies. Wilson, another lad you didn't know well. Hutchins, maybe? You lay them out under a tarp, Aces covered. Back in the dugout, silence reigns. No jokes now. No songs. Just breathing and shivering and the slow ticking of a pocket watch someone left on a crate. The next morning, the chaplain says a few words. You stand in the mud, with your helmet in your hands. You mouth a prayer you don't believe anymore, but you say it anyway. For them, for yourself. Later, you're back on the fire step. Same view, same sky, but everything is different. You look over at Davis. He gives you a tired smile. You nod, because this is what survival looks like. Not medals, not glory, just another day, another breath, another step in the mud, and somewhere, deep down, the stubborn hope that one day this will end, and you'll go home, not as you were, but alive. The next day the routine continues. You wake to the same dim light, the same cold, the same mud. But today there's a new face in the trench. A young lad, barely 18, with wide eyes and trembling hands. His name is Harris. You nod to him, offering a silent welcome. He nods back, trying to muster a smile. Harris is assigned to your section. You watch him closely, remembering your own first days in the trench, the fear, the confusion, the overwhelming sense of being out of place. You try to offer him some comfort, a few words of advice. Keep your head down, listen to the sergeant, and don't worry, you'll get used to it. The day passes slowly. Harris sticks close to you, his eyes darting around, his hands never quite steady. You share your rations with him, a dry biscuit and a tin of meat. He eats slowly, chewing each bite as if it's his last. As evening falls, the orders come again. Night patrol. This time Harris is picked. You see the fear in his eyes, the way his hands shake as he checks his rifle. You give him a reassuring pat on the back. You'll be fine. Just stay close to me. The patrol is uneventful. The silence of no man's land is almost comforting. You move slowly. carefully, each step a whisper. Harris follows, his breath steadying, his movements becoming more confident. You reach the far end of the patrol route and turn back, the trench walls welcoming you once again. Back in the trench, Harris sits beside you. He doesn't speak, just takes off his helmet and closes his eyes. You realize your hands are shaking again. You ball them into fists, trying to steady yourself. Eventually, someone passes a bottle. You sip, the burn keeping the cold away. Days turn into weeks. Harris becomes a part of the routine, his fear slowly fading, replaced by a quiet determination. You watch him grow, his eyes losing their wide-eyed innocence, his hands becoming steady. You see yourself in him, the way you were when you first arrived. One evening as the sun sets, Harris pulls out a harmonica. He starts playing a tune, soft and slow. The trench falls silent, the men listening, the music washing over them. You lean back against the wall, letting the sound carry you away. For a moment, the war fades, replaced by the simple beauty of the music. Then the shelling starts again. The world explodes, the trench lurching, wood and dirt flying. You crawl forward, instincts guiding you. The air is thick with dust, with the iron stink of blood and something burning. You find Harris first. He's on his side, dazed, a cut bleeding down one cheek. "Get up!" you shout. "Come on!" He nods, staggered, clinging to your sleeve. You move forward, the chaos surrounding you, the noise deafening. You find Davies next, his face pale, his eyes wide. You pull him up, the three of you moving together, trying to find safety. When the shelling stops, the trench is quieter than before. The air tastes like chalk. You sit there, next to Harris and Davies, none of you speaking. Eventually, you help recover the bodies. Wilson, another lad you didn't know well. You lay them out under a tarp, faces covered. Back in the dugout, silence reigns. No jokes now, no songs, just breathing and shivering, and the slow ticking of a pocket watch someone left on a crate. The next morning the chaplain says a few words. You stand in the mud with your helmet in your hands. You mouth a prayer you don't believe anymore, but you say it anyway. For them. For yourself. Later, you're back on the fire step. Same view. Same sky. But everything is different. You look over at Harris. He gives you a tired smile. You nod, because this is what survival looks like. Not medals, not glory, just another day, another breath, another step in the mud, and somewhere, deep down, the stubborn hope that one day this will end, and you'll go home, not as you were, but alive. The days continue to blur together. The routine becomes a comfort, a way to keep the fear at bay. You wake, you eat, you patrol, you sleep. The trench becomes your world, the mud and the cold your constant companions. One day, a letter arrives. It's from your sister. She writes about home, about the fields and the village, about the people you used to know. She tells you about the new baby, about the way he smiles, about the way he looks just like you. You read the letter over and over, the words a lifeline, a connection to a world that feels so far away. You write back, your words careful, measured. You tell her you're fine, that you're surviving. You tell her you miss her, that you think about home every day. You fold the letter carefully, tucking it into your pocket. It's a small comfort, but it's enough. The routine continues. The days pass slowly, each one blending into the next. You find solace in the small moments, in the shared rations, in the quiet conversations, in the music of Harris's harmonica. You find strength in the camaraderie, in the way the men look out for each other, in the way they find moments of joy amidst the chaos. One night, as you sit on the fire step, you hear a sound. It's faint at first, barely audible over the wind and the rain, but it grows louder, more distinct. It's singing. The men are singing, their voices rising together, a chorus of hope and defiance. You join in, your voice blending with theirs, the music, a beacon in the darkness. The singing continues, a nightly ritual, a way to keep the fear at bay. The songs change, but the spirit remains the same. It's a reminder that even in the midst of war, there is still beauty, still hope, still humanity. The days turn into months. The routine becomes second nature, the trench a home of sorts. You find comfort in the familiar, in the shared experiences, in the small moments of connection. You find strength in the camaraderie, in the way the men look out for each other, in the way they find moments of joy amidst the chaos. One day, as you sit on the fire step, you see a figure approaching. It's a runner, his face pale, his eyes wide. He brings news. The war is ending. The armistice has been signed. You feel a surge of emotion, a mix of relief and disbelief. You look around at the men, their faces reflecting the same feelings. You realize that this is it, the end, the beginning of something new. The days that follow are a blur. The trench is filled with activity, with preparations for departure, with the anticipation of going home. You pack your belongings, your letters, your photographs. You say your goodbyes, your promises to stay in touch. You feel a mix of excitement and apprehension, a sense of leaving behind a part of yourself. The journey home is long, filled with moments of reflection, of anticipation. You think about the war, about the men you fought alongside, about the experiences that shaped you. You think about home, about the fields and the village, about the people you used to know. You feel a sense of gratitude, of hope, of determination when you finally arrive home. It's a mix of familiarity and change. The village is the same, but different. The people are the same, but changed. You feel a sense of belonging, but also a sense of distance. You realize that the war has left its mark, that you are not the same person you were when you left. You find solace in the small moments, in the shared experiences, in the connections you make. You find strength in the camaraderie, in the way the people look out for each other, in the way they find moments of joy amidst the challenges. You find hope in the future, in the possibilities that lie ahead, in the determination to rebuild, to heal, to move forward. The days turn into years. The memories of the war fade, but they never disappear. You carry them with you, a reminder of the strength, the resilience, the humanity that defined those days. You find peace in the present, in the connections you make, in the moments of joy and beauty. You find hope in the future, in the possibilities that lie ahead, in the determination to rebuild, to heal, to move forward. And somewhere, deep down, the stubborn hope, at one day this will end, and you'll go home, not as you were, but alive. The year is 1916. You are not on the fire step. You are not crawling through no man's land. You are not holding a rifle. You are holding a ladle. You are the cook. Your war is fought with boiling tins, dented pots, and the stubborn hope that a hot meal can hold a man together when everything else is falling apart. You wake before the others. Always before. The trench is still dark, the air thick with mist, and the scent of damp canvas and old grease. You stretch your back, stiff from sleeping on a crate, and pull on your coat, the one stained with broth, soot, and the memory of yesterday's stew. The field kitchen is a battered contraption, a wheeled cart with a firebox underneath and two great cauldrons on top. It's tucked behind a sandbag wall, just far enough from the front to avoid stray bullets, but close enough that the men can smell what's cooking. You stoke the fire with numb fingers. The wood is damp. It always is. Smoke curls up, stinging your eyes. You cough, wipe your hands on your apron, and begin. You boil water. You open tins. You stir. You taste. You adjust. You do it all by feel now. The measurements are an instinct, not spoons. You know how to stretch a pound of meat to feed 30. You know how to make tea strong enough to wake a man who hasn't slept in days. The first lad arrives, boots squelching in the mud. It's Harris. He's young, too young. He holds out his mess tin like it's a sacred object. You ladle in porridge. Thick, gray, steaming. He nods. "Thanks, Cookie," he says. You nod back. You don't need thanks. You need him to eat. The sun never really rises. It just becomes less dark. You're peeling potatoes now. A sack of them, muddy and knotted. You sit on an overturned crate, knife in hand, rhythm steady. Peel, flick, drop. Peel, flick, drop. The men come and go. Some joke. Some don't. You listen. You nod. You offer seconds when you can. You save the last bit of jam for Davis. He's been coughing again. You hear the distant thump of artillery. You don't flinch. You've learned to tell the difference between outgoing and incoming. You've learned to keep stirring even when the ground shakes. You make stew. You make tea. You make dew. You take a moment to sit. Just a moment. You lean against the side of the kitchen cart, eyes closed, hands still warm from the fire. You think of home, of your mum's kitchen, of the smell of onions frying, of your sister humming as she kneaded dough, of Sunday roast and the clatter of plates. You open your eyes. The trench is still here. You get back to work. The men return from patrol. Muddy. Silent. One fewer than left. You don't ask. You just serve. You ladle stew into tins. You pour tea. You hand out bread. Hard as stone, but it's something. You watch them eat. You watch them come back to life, just a little. Davies sits near the fire. He's pale. You hand him a tin of stew with extra meat. He nods. "You're a miracle worker, Cookie," he says. You smile. Just a little. The fire burns low. The men sleep, or try to. You clean the pots. You scrape the tins. You stack the crates. You write a letter. Short, simple. Still cooking. Still standing. Love to all. You tuck it into your coat. You sit by the fire, alone now. The stars are out, faint behind the smoke. You sip the last of the tea. It's bitter. It's perfect. You close your eyes. Tomorrow, you'll do it all again, because you are the cook. And in this war, that means you are hope.